car crash energy flow chart demo. 8 different forms of energy. Get that from your Google Slides. What this is all about is how energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes forms, gets passed along. Smart car, its main form of energy at that point is motion. And then whenever it hits that barrier, that motion energy gets translated into a bunch of different forms. That motion has become gravitational potential because the car is now up in the air. That motion energy got translated to other bits and pieces that are flying through the air. If you've ever seen, heard, or unfortunately been in any kind of car crash, it's loud. So that's sound. You get maybe some people, the metal parts against the barrier. You might get some light even. Get heat from that collision. Motion, it doesn't change form into a different form. It still stays as motion, but it gets sent to other things like the pieces of the car, the barrier. Okay, we got sound for sure. Maybe even some light from things breaking off in a spark. Elastic potential, some of those plastic bits and pieces that can restore themselves to their normal state or somewhat. Something like aluminum foil does not have elastic potential energy. It remains permanently deformed. But something like plastic, you bend and it can bend back, which there's plenty of that on that smart car. Where did that motion energy come from? If we're assuming, say, it's an internal combustion engine, a normal motor that's in most cars, that comes from the gasoline. So that would be chemical potential energy. And it also comes from the battery, which provides the electrical potential. See, where might these things go? Well, like that GPE, the car up in the air, well, eventually it comes back down, fortunately. It's on its way back down. So that becomes kinetic, goes back to being kinetic. Maybe I say some of those bits and pieces that are flying through the air with motion energy, they land on something on the ground and it gets converted into sound. Okay, and it gets passed along, on and on and on into different forms and so on. Give 100 joules of energy immediately. 8 joules is lost in the form of heat. 5 joules is lost in the form of sound. 4 joules is lost in the form of heat as it travels through the air because of friction. So 100 minus 8 minus 5 minus 4, that's 9, 17. 100 minus 17 is what, 83? So it's left with 83 joules at that point. What form does it exist in? Well, it's up in the air, so we got gravitational potential. It's still moving, so it's got motion KE. And it can have, you can say it have sound. If I don't know if you've ever had some kind of object whizzing by your head, but yeah, it's vibrating the air that it's traveling through, so you got sound. And you could also have heat because it's still passing through a fluid. So because of wind resistance and drag and all that, that's the friction of the air against the object.